Hey everyone, I'm here to talk to you about some questions as we move towards the 2nd of August and we head back to church. Why are we going back to church? Well, we have a God who's relational, Father, Son and Holy Spirit, and our God is taking us to a heaven where we'll all be together with Him. And church is just a little glimpse of heaven, isn't it? Church is where we gather around Jesus in His Word, in the Holy Spirit. Church is a wonderful thing, and to not being able to gather for the last few months has just been a really painful and frustrating thing, as good as Church Online has been. So we're really excited about going back to church on the 2nd of August, but there's a whole stack of questions that naturally come up. There's some anxiety that we feel about it, and we're really keen for you to ask your questions to us. And so if you send your questions to questions@hunterbiblechurch.org, we'll make sure that we can get around to answering as many of them as we can. This won't be the last Q&A video that we make. So without further ado, I'll get on with some of the questions. Are the schools and university happy for us to have us back, and will we fit in those spaces? Well, yes, the schools that we meet in are happy to have us back because they operate under the principles that are handed to them, the guidelines handed to them by the Department of Education. And so as long as we can say that we're complying with the regulations they've set down, the schools are happy to have us back. We're in conversation with the university because Uni Church is so much about students. They're quite keen to have us back, and we're certainly going to know before 2nd of August exactly where we're meeting. Will we fit in those spaces? Well, Lambton is great because we've got the mezzanine, we can fit 204 adults in that room, and we're quite confident that with kids going straight out, we'll be able to meet at Lambton. The university, slightly trickier in that we can have 140 people in that auditorium. Given that lots of students are still away, we're thinking that 140 people might still be okay there. The tricky one for us is the lake. At the moment, we can't fit nearly as many people into the building at the lake as we'd like, and so we're looking at options like maybe operating under the COLA. Certainly the big thing we're praying for is that the 4 square metre rule will become the 2 square metre rule, as it has in places like Adelaide and Perth. So if you're praying about these things, pray that the 4 square metre rule becomes the 2 square metre rule, because then we will be able to fit in the lake and will certainly fit very easily into uni. Okay, next question. How will we ensure that people social distance when they get to church? Well, we've ordered a whole stack of 1.3 metre diameter hula hoops, and no, we're not doing that. In a sense, there's a case of what we say from the front and what we invite people to do in terms of taking social responsibility, personal responsibility. The same sort of thing that we've all been learning how to do in supermarkets, haven't we? We learn to negotiate our way so that we keep our social distance from people. We at the front of church will be just reminding people in as warm and kind a way as we can. I was thinking about it. If you've ever flown Air New Zealand and you've ever watched their safety videos, they're fun, they're quirky, and they get the message across. We want to keep doing that from the front in the first few weeks that we get back, just saying, hey everyone, it's great that we're back together. Don't be a hugger just yet. And we'll keep trying to find ways that set the culture that helps people to do personal responsibility well. Okay, the next thing. Do we have plans about how we're going to do food and morning tea and afternoon tea? Well, I think the best answer for that is our plans are evolving. We think we can do coffee and tea fairly well and safely. With food, there are still some questions around that. One of the options that we're considering for food is we may actually have to go to individual serves. What we're determined to do is find a way of doing food safely, and so we'll go to what is the best practice in things like cafes for that sort of question. Whichever way we go, it'll be the mix of what is best for people gathering, gives people the best chance to hang out and gather and to eat safely, but really it's about safety as well. The next question. How are we going to manage the legal requirement to record people's details? This is a really tricky one, isn't it? I don't know about you, but I find that if there's a barrier for me walking into a shop at the moment, like hand sanitizing, even though I know that it's a really good thing and a necessary thing, having it as a barrier at the door is kind of uncomfortable, isn't it? And one of the big principles that we always want to have as church is we want the newcomer, we want the visitor to feel like they're coming into our home, to feel welcomed and loved. The great thing is we have a long-standing way of being able to collect people's details, and that's with the cards. And so what we'll do is we'll make filling in the cards something that we all do for a number of weeks. This is going to make Dave Allen so happy. He's wanted us to fill in the cards every week for all of church. But this is something that we can actually do to be obedient to the government. And when we all do it, it helps the newcomer to feel a little bit inconspicuous themselves. So it'll be the cards. The next question, are we going to keep doing some online content like midweek things? Well, yes, certainly as we keep going with Sundays, we're going to keep going with Sunday online for a little while, and then gradually that will peter off because getting together physically is so much better. But I think COVID has changed the way we will do some of our ministries forever. Let me give you a little preview. I think that from here on in, you're going to see lots of short 10-minute videos being released by us. So when the staff have a thought about something, often in the past they'll have come to me and said, so Greg, next time you're preaching on this, it'd be great if you could say this sort of thing. Now I'll be able to say, well, go up and record it upstairs yourself. The set's already there. And so I think you're going to see a lot more short content videos from church just on helpful issues. Maybe a response to something that's happening in the news. Maybe a thought that they've had about membership or magnification and so on. I think often we'll find that some of our ongoing programs can work really well being streamed as well as being live. So I can imagine Life being something that we stream as well as run live, because lots of you have said it's great to be able to invite my friend, my uncle, my dad who's living in Tamworth or Port Macquarie, and they want to come along. And I can imagine us doing things like that, say big ideas nights where we just can't fit enough people in, or where it's difficult to get babysitters, training nights. There are a whole bunch of things that aren't about the Sunday gathering that I can imagine us running live and streaming online. The thing is, we'll always be working to make the live experience as good as it can be. That will always, I think, be our primary thing. And the online thing will probably always be a secondary thing, but we'll want it to be as helpful as we can. Okay, so there's a bunch of questions. You'll have more questions. Keep sending them in to questions@hunterbiblechurch.org. We'll keep trying to answer them. And by the grace of God, hopefully, pretty soon, it won't be looking at me on a screen. You'll have to look at this face in the flesh. And, well, there are drawbacks. But I can't wait to see you then.